All right. Welcome everybody to I don't know which episode this is of the Kannon Studios podcast. We'll figure it out and we'll put it in the show notes and it'll be correct.
Yeah.
So, we're really excited today to welcome my friend, mentor, just all around buddy in many different aspects
Friend,
of life.
at one point you were, well, still are, my mentor. We met when you were my small group leader.
Well, I mean, I see you as my mentor, so
I see you as my mentor.
We'll fight over it. No, you're the mentor. But I mean, just somebody I have like immense amounts of respect for. And when we started to do this podcast and we were beginning to plan it out and who we want to talk to, you were one of the first people that like came to mind. And so really appreciate you like taking the time and just, coming to share like the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that you have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Never done this before.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
First time's a charm. Mm-hmm. I think that's how it goes.
The camera adds 80 pounds.
Man. So yeah, we're super excited to have you here. And so how we normally open this up is we kind of ask a question to, sort of help drive the conversation. And so what's one of the most vivid memories that you have from childhood? And
I have notes. I'm going to rattle them like that. I once listened to Ira Glass at the University of California, Irvine, give a talk about how he does This American Life. And he has a lot of physical props, and he makes them do things because it adds depth to the audio. And he actually did the first 5 minutes of his show completely blacked out on stage. Like you couldn't see anything. He's like, you don't even know if I'm here right now. It was awesome.
Disembodied voice.
Yeah. So I wrote this down. So I've got notes when you see me refer to my notes.
Okay.
My grandpa had a place on the Moye River up near the Canadian border in the Idaho Panhandle. And I remember this was somewhere in middle school. I want to say it was 7th grade. I was up there. It was early August. It was perfect. Like it's one of those memories where I woke up real early. Everyone else was still asleep. I went down to the river. The sun was just coming up. I knew it was going to be a perfect day. I was confident that this was going to be great. Like the water looked good. The sun looked good. The weather was perfect. It was starting to warm up. I knew where the tubes were. I knew where the fishing poles were. I knew my cousins were coming over. Yeah. I was just like, this is going to be the best day ever. And it was. Yeah. And it was just one of those things you hold on to, I remember telling kids at school about summer vacations and they're talking about all these grand places. I'm like, I'm going to Idaho.
Yeah.
But to me, I could have been saying, I'm going to Shangri-La.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the name? Was that the name of the place where you at? Shangri-La?
No, it's my grandpa's place in northern Idaho. It was the Moye River.
The Moye River. Okay, cool. So that's like, that sounds like a freaking amazing time. Like as a young boy, I would, like just thinking
young
about
man
it.
Boy, as I say.
Yeah.
Right at that time.
Young man boy. No, that does sound like a very, visceral memory. So can you sort of like take us on a journey, like, a little bit, like how did you arrive where you are right now today in your role in leadership?
Sure. So oddly, it's how I got, early information security professionals like myself, i.e. old information security professionals like myself, there were no degrees. We all got in accidentally. And some of the best people I know never were trained in cybersecurity. They probably the best sales engineer I ever hired, Brian Rapp, who I almost got to come over to our team at one point, describes him making the decision to leave his previous job when he was a surveyor. And he said, a snake went by when I was up to my chest in a Florida swamp. And I said, you know what? I want a new job. Yeah. And that's how a lot of people get into cybersecurity. It's just one day someone runs in and says, does anyone know how to, do this on a computer? And someone says, okay. Yeah. And you end up in cybersecurity. So I was in the service for 8 years. And I started out as a radioman. I graduated from high school on a Friday. I was in boot on a Monday. Wow. The job I chose in the Navy was radioman. Okay. My first 4 years, it was all exactly what that says, radioman. So I old school, same radios that you would have had on a World War II ship were the radios we were still using. Dang. It was crazy. And then I re-enlisted for 4 years and I asked to go to Hawaii. And there was no guarantee of a duty station, like what job you were going to get, but they would guarantee if I re-enlisted because they wanted me to stay, that they'll send me to Hawaii.
Okay.
So I called what's called the command master chief, the guy on the base that's going to give you your job. And I said, hey, I want to work with computers. I've been doing radio for a while. I'm starting to get into computers. I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
Can you put me in the land shop? And he was like, well, there's no room in the land shop, but we're building a knock. I'm like, I don't even know what a knock is. And I got to go build a knock for the Pacific Fleet, the Pacific Region Network Operations Center. Worked with like half civilian, half military. Yeah. Most of the military guys sat around drinking coffee and not paying attention to what was going on. Yeah. And I just dove in. It was like a graduate degree for 4 years in Hawaii. I was working with super smart people, and that got me the kind of technology background. Like I started getting into security with firewalls. Yeah. Got out of the Navy, and I had met Laura again. I knew her when I was a kid, but excuse me, getting my frog in my throat.
Oh, good.
I knew Laura from the 6th grade. And we had met again when I was still in the service at a friend's wedding. Yeah. It was a mutual acquaintance. And so I wanted to get a job where I could drive to see her. Yeah. Like I was placing a bet. Like it was, I could go anywhere. Yeah. There's a girl I like, and she's talking like she likes me. Yeah. Why not place a bet? Right. When else in my life could I place a bet like that?
It's a good bet.
Yeah. And so the closest I could get was Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to her Nashville, Tennessee, which is not super close, but it's drivable for a long weekend. Yeah. Yeah. And I found this tiny little company. I was employee number 12. I was really looking for something like no structure. I'd been in structure for 8 years. Your mustache has to be this exact size. And someone will measure it, and your hair has to be this exact length, and there needs to be creases in your uniform. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want any of that. And so being employee number 12 at this little company was like awesome. It was like my boss would be like, someone's coming in tomorrow, wear clothes.
Yes, I love that. Awesome.
Yeah. But funnily enough, it was a bunch of really smart, hardworking, motivated, dedicated people. And so a lot of the company grew and grew and grew and grew, and everyone kept getting promoted and promoted and promoted. And SecureWorks eventually bought us for a bunch of money. And then Dell bought SecureWorks, which was the combined company, for a big chunk of money, like almost $1 billion. Wow. And every time we were going, it's just like the old 12 were continuously being put into higher and higher and higher level positions. Yeah. Until I was running global sales engineering for Dell SecureWorks with about 30 people on my team, which is the biggest team I ever managed.
Wow.
And then I went out to sales.
Man, so that was that dress code kind of sticking around when you?
No. No, I had it was suit up. Yeah. None of which fit right now, but there's a closet full of them that don't fit.
Yeah, the dress code change makes my heart sad a little bit. Yeah,
it's the biggest complaint right now where we work. I was talking to people. One of our coworkers was describing today that the only reason I don't want to go back in the office is I can't wear shorts.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like, that's real. Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally.
We all spent the last 3 years wearing shorts.
Yeah, man. Shorts and a hoodie or sweatpants is like super comfy. But,
So I overtalked there. I'm sorry.
No, you're no apologies needed. So we talked about like, really vivid memory and Gianni, feel free to take over anytime you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, if you could choose 3 daily habits, what would they be, and why do you think they're essential for success?
With the caveat that I probably don't do these every day as often as I should.
Okay.
Devotion and prayer time.
Yeah.
I've been really deliberate about that this year, and I'm really loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then exercise. I've also been pretty deliberate about that this year. I'm doing 5 days a week, 30 minutes on the bike, and napping. Love a good nap.
Yeah.
That sounds so good.
Score me a 20-minute nap, and I feel just like energized. Yeah. Like it feels like a whole new day, but it's just still the same afternoon.
Yeah. We got to start napping.
Yeah. For real.
If I take anything away from this, it's going to be
a nap.
Craig said I need to nap.
You got to score a nap. If you do it for more than 30 minutes, you feel groggy.
Yeah.
But like a 15, 20-minute nap is empowering.
Yeah. It's like a reset.
No, that's awesome. And definitely like during the times in our life, I think when we are most in sync, or like when we have that like devotion and prayer time like consistently, like I know, or we can feel like the difference. Like it's just a complete like alignment and, you know, all your effort, what you're trying to do. So in that sense, totally agree. So this topic that we are sort of touching on this month kind of revolves around the idea of making heroes and not necessarily like being the hero. And so empowering people in your organization to grow and to have an avenue to succeed.
Yeah.
And so, to kind of jump into that, how do you foster a culture of empowerment within your organization, and what steps do you take to give employees the autonomy and support that they need to take on leadership roles?
Sure. So I broke this one down into a few different thoughts. Empowering, this is just my experience, brother. You know, a lot of different business leaders can come in and say a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Empowering to me is about just describing a need. People grow to what you need them to grow to.
Yeah.
Right. It's blowing the horn and seeing who gets up and goes to charge.
Yeah.
And so telling the team, like, guys, this is what we got to do. This is what I need.
Yeah.
That empowers them to be like, oh, this is what we got to go do. This is what we have to do.
Yeah.
You know, this is what he needs.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of team I want. And if you got that kind of team, then, you know, empowerment is just, this is what we need.
Yeah.
Right.
And people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think you have to recognize that too as a leader. Like, for people that are listening or watching or whatever that don't know, Craig and Kyle work together.
Yep.
And so I know from the outside looking in, like, there are going to always be hard days at work, right? Like, especially when they're challenging or there's a pivot or whatever. But the most consistent thing that I hear is, like, he doesn't say it directly, but he's like, I know Craig has my back, basically, and he's empowering me to be able to make this decision. But even if I can't figure it out, we kind of figure it out together, right? Or he's giving me the resources that I need. So I think having a good pulse on like your entire team as a leader, that's also what allows you to empower others. Because you know, as a leader, you could say, hey, this is what we need. And the team could not do it if they don't respect you or if you don't have that type of relationship. But I think they know that you're coming from like a good place, not a place of like, do this because I said to do it.
Right.
Is that movie Old School?
Yeah.
Where Will Ferrell's like, we're going streaking. And he runs off and no one follows him, right? Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, that's a really like good, you know, good example of it is.
Yeah.
I think as a leader, you're someone worth following. So that's why it feels like that. So
you have to be, that's deliberate though.
Yeah.
It's not like, I just have some X factor or I say nice things. Like one of the other questions you had below, I talked about, you got to carry a burden for your people. You've got to feel it.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to carry a weight for them.
Yeah.
In your interactions with the company that you're working for and their promotions and their salaries, and are they, you know, being able to meet their needs with their family and achieve their goals. And if you don't carry at least some of that burden with them, right, you're probably not going to be the guy that they answer the need for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good perspective, because I don't know if a lot of people get that right, but that's a lot of empathy, right? Like putting yourself in that person's shoes. So that was a really powerful
My heart doctor probably doesn't appreciate, you know. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, to validate that, like, you know, like we've gone through some just not necessarily like turmoil, like for sure we are totally blessed to be in the position that we're in, but I know there was just recently for our team, like a lot of kind of unanswered questions, I'll say. Yeah. And we didn't know, you know, kind of how things were going to look going forward. And I think the way that you sort of like approached it and like led us through that, it didn't necessarily like give us clear answers to the questions, but it did answer the question, like, does Craig like have our best interests at heart? And that answer was resoundingly yes every time. And so it doesn't matter if it was like, you know,
that's all you can do. You know, we're in a fog.
Yeah.
All I can say is we're in a fog.
Yeah.
I'm on the same boat y'all are on.
Keep rowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's funny to say, like, but that takes a lot of vulnerability as a leader, because I think some leaders have this facade as if things are all good, but you even being able to say, like, hey, we're in a fog, and like, I know you don't understand. I don't understand either, right? So,
totally.
To me, that speaks like leadership, and not saying things are going to be okay. It's, like being
It's like, I'm looking through the maps.
Yeah.
I'm yelling for help.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the. Is there something else?
Yeah. There's nothing else on this list. No, that's.
So yeah, not to get all sappy, but
No, yeah. I'm gonna cry before it's over. So, yeah. So yeah.
Oh, the other ones that I was going to say to your question earlier about autonomy.
Yeah.
Autonomy, to me, is accountability. You and I know this, again, not working together, being accountable to each other in small group.
Right.
Empowerment is great. You want to do something. The desire to go do something and answer that need is awesome.
Right.
We need to check in regularly to be accountable.
Right.
And we're actually doing the thing that we desired to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why we have our Monday call, our Friday call. You have your stand-ups every day, right? It's lots of little connections where we're being directly accountable to what we said we were going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, the best people like need that, because there's just, it's so easy to like fall into that lull of like, I'll do that later. I'll start later. But when you have someone that like, when you know that something is coming up where you have to like check in and tell somebody like how this is going. And it never feels like, micromanagement or like looking over our shoulder or anything like that. It's always just like, hey, what's going on? And do you need anything from me? And that has always been like a way that we just feel.
Well, it's shared accountability too.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like you're standing in front of me being accountable to your task list. Right.
Right.
You're standing next to Eric.
Right.
Who's standing next to Troy, who's standing next to David, and y'all are seeing each other's task list.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm on more of an audience,
watching
how you guys are working together.
Yeah. Good. Luckily, we have a really like tight knit team, and we kind of give each other crap a lot of times, but for the most part, it's like we carry each other's burdens, and we step in to help where it's needed, and I'm super grateful. So,
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
And the last note I had there was support is based off of knowing your people, which Gianni already reinforced.
Yeah.
I know you. You know me.
There's a Barney reboot. I don't know if you know.
I look a little too Barney in that video to kind of support that.
Hey, man.
A little too Barney shaped right now. So.
We're gonna work on it. All right. So, how do you create opportunities for your employees to share their ideas, provide feedback, and take the lead on projects and initiatives?
This was a hard one because right? It's not going to be all like high fives in these, right?
Yeah.
I talk too much. I absolutely talk too much, as will be evidenced when you edit this podcast, I'm sure. The right way to do that, and I know this, is listening when people have ideas, which I'm not great at, but I try to be deliberate about. And then the other one, which I am good at, is saying yes.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys are bringing me something that you're passionate about that has anything at all to do with us being successful, and you think you've got something that will add value, I don't care if I understand it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say yes, because the result will probably be something that I like.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of times if we're bringing it to you, we've already probably done a lot of the sort of the work to check and make sure that this is viable. And so I think the trust that you have in us to do that, like to not just, kind of toss out harebrained ideas or,
I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is and that kind of, sometimes that is, albeit a little like, not stressful. It's like, that's the challenge, right? That's the portion of it that's like calling us to like a higher standard a little bit, where it's like, hey, I think this will be cool. Let's do this. And it's like, I I don't
Yeah.
know if we can do that.
How do I tell you you're being dumb without telling you that you're being dumb? Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, yeah, but it's good though, because it's challenged us and pushed us. We've experienced a ton of growth individually and as a team, like over the past few years. So it's obviously it's working and it's effective. So
yeah, you guys are going to come up with ideas that I don't come up with, and solve problems that I haven't seen yet, and come up with innovative solutions and ideas.
Yeah.
And I just want to say yes as much as possible. And they may not all pan out, but some of them will, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You wanna
Sure.
go for the next question?
So how do you balance the importance of employee input with the need for clear decision making and strategic direction?
Kind of to the last question, right? Where is this leadership line? I try to be real open. I try to be real squishy and inspiring and positive. But at the end of the day, like if things are getting out of control or we're just spinning around in circles, I've got to say, nope, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Making the call.
Yeah.
Someone can jump in front of me and try to die, but I've got to make the call.
Yeah.
And every time I've ever gotten to that point, it's normally gone well. Like that's what they pay me for, and you got to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time you don't,
Yeah.
like we discussed. But if there's a big tension, if there's a tiebreaker, if there's nope, there's 47 directions to go and we're all wandering around like chickens.
Yeah.
Nope, we're going that way.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Oh, that's good.
I actually wrote down here in my notes, like, not to be a dick about it, but I got to make the call.
I think that might be like verbatim what is said like on meetings. It's just like, hey, not to be a dick, but yeah, we're not going to do that. Usually we're like, oh, well, it's probably right. Cool. So how can you create open and transparent communication culture within your organization and encourage others to speak up and share their ideas?
Ask for it, just like the first question.
Yeah.
Just ask. Just say, I want your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Give them to me. And then make the space for them. It's one of the things I've really tried to be deliberate about this year is one-on-ones every other week with every single person on the team.
Yeah.
As well as the weekly meetings at the beginning and the end of the week, where it's just, there's got to be enough places, both as a group and individual, for there to be time for them to say, oh, I'm going to bring this idea up with Craig on our one-on-one on Friday.
Yeah.
And if I've made that space and I've made that time,
Yeah.
And I've said, I want them,
Yeah.
then they usually just show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
makes
creating that, you create the void for it and then, give them the opportunity to fill it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like going off script a little bit. So sorry for if I wreck or, yeah. But I just kind of, I don't know. I wanted to ask what do you think it was that occurred, or that was there a moment in your life that kind of like caused you to want to build up other people, like to, what I'm trying to say, like in their
Sure.
career?
It's a hard question, right? Because you want to answer like, I've always been called to do good and serve. But honestly, and I don't want to sound this the wrong way, I'm a big blonde white dude who's Gen X.
Yeah.
I showed up in the Navy at 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't know me from anyone. They didn't know who the hell I was.
Yeah.
On day one, they said, do you want to be in charge?
Wow.
I have never had a job as an adult where somebody didn't find me within a very short period of time and say, would you like to manage a team or run a team or be in charge of this thing?
Yeah.
And I've tried to do good by that, right? We've talked a lot about the deliberate things that I've learned, lessons I've learned. I was a shitty boss 25 years ago. I was absolutely awful, right? I've talked to some people that were on teams of mine back then.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. Like I had a guy that worked for me at like 2 or 3 jobs ago. And we'd also worked together way back in the day. And name is Andy. We were having a beer and he was like, I never told you this, but we were terrified to call you on the night shift if we had a problem. Because like if they had a problem and they were calling me for help, I was like, what the fuck are you calling me? You know, you can't figure this out.
Yeah.
You're waking me up to figure this. I would never do that now.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if it is just that I was a large white male of a certain type that was given that advantage my whole life. Yeah. I've tried to meet that advantage, but I have no idea why. Yeah. People just keep giving me teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's like, it speaks to like a growth and like a humility that it takes to one, like recognize, that you were that way and to, make adjustments in order to get better. But also like it takes a sort of just a spirit of like improvement, because even if it could just be like, if I keep getting the jobs, why would I change? So there's, I think in those two things, like, cause there's I don't want to say a balance of like pride and humility, but there's like, you do take a certain pride, like in a positive way about the work that we do. But you also carry an air of humility that says like, I'm not always going to do things right. And if I get it wrong, then I'm willing to say that I got it wrong and to, stand against the pointy end of the stick and, take the hit because I'm the one who's in charge.
Yeah. That's the right way to do it. Right. You said it's pride and humility, right? We're sitting in this lovely space, right? I wouldn't have taken this much pride in my podcasting space, right? This is something that you've been very deliberate about. I want to take pride in this space. I want to take pride in my craft and show dedication to this craft,
Yeah. I mean, I mostly hooked up the wires and stuff. Gianni makes it pretty. Yeah, she makes it pretty and makes it sound good. Oh, yeah. Mom.
So, yeah.
Grandmother.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you guys executed on a vision.
Right.
I haven't built a goddamn thing in 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. People are like, Craig built Aflac Cyber Protection. Like, no, I didn't. Had a whole bunch of people build it.
Yeah.
I named it.
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of stories down about it.
Yeah.
You gave us the vision, and then we.
That's not true. You've built something. You built your D&D character.
There you go.
Boom.
Oh, and our TV, like our map TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mostly you. I kind of stood back at a certain point. You and Mike built that.
Okay.
Can I hit it with a hammer?
Yeah.
No. Okay. You got it.
Man.
We need a saw. I know a guy with a saw.
Yeah.
I don't have a saw. I can't actually saw, but I know a guy with a saw. Let's go to that guy.
Hey, that is a valuable skill. The connector, man.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to kind of skip ahead a little bit. I want to, stuff we want to talk about. But how do you go about, or what's the process that you use to identify the strengths of your team members, and how do you determine how to use them in your organization?
It's funny. I was talking with Sean, that was down with us the other day, one of the architects.
Yeah.
I always liken a small team to a crew that's doing a heist. And if there is a talent that I have developed over the years, it is running a heist. Yeah. Right? It is like, I know who's going to drive the getaway car. I know who's going to like squeeze inside the box. I know who's going to run the con. Yeah. Like, and it's just instinct at this point, right? It's instinct and providence, I don't know that it's perfect. I wrote down, you got to spend a lot of time knowing your people. You got to spend a lot of time talking with your people. Yeah. And after that, you just got to, it's natural selection. People say, I want to do this job. And you have to have the instinct to know, like, do I want them doing that job? Right. And eventually it all sort of works out.
Yeah.
Totally. That makes me think of the episode of Rick and Morty where it's like the heist con episode. Yeah. And every time somebody like pitches something to Rick, he's like, you son of a bitch. I mean, right. And it's like he goes around this whole like convention. He's just like gathering people and finding their specific skill sets. But no, that, like I said, that is a talent in and of itself, because I think not everybody can recognize like, hey, this person is good at this, and just be willing to yield even the cool and fun jobs to somebody that might be better at it, and say like, hey, you should be doing this. And also like being able to have like hard conversation with somebody, be like, hey man, I know you like this, but we would be like, as a team, we would benefit from you doing this, and kind of like the give and take of, you can help out, or, kind of finding ways to meet them in the middle, but also like help them understand the goal and work towards that, as opposed to just being like, no, you do this, shut up.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, it is absolutely mental jujitsu.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because look, at the end of the day, you want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You want to be a video, audio, guy. But I can't pay you to do that.
Right.
So I have to somehow get you interested in doing what I need you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Compensate you correctly.
Yeah.
And focus you where I need you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, sorry, Gianni, I'm like,
No,
this feels like just
I already have my question, but
Craig
I'll just
Well,
wait till you stop.
Go ahead and ask it. I'm gonna shut up. Actually.
No, it's. I was just gonna ask, is Craig said he's like, it's like the squad for the heist. Like, so knowing what you know about Kyle, I don't think he would drive the getaway car. Where would you see him fitting into? Like,
I got the
your
right
heist?
answer. I don't know. I'm sorry, Kyle. Love you, man. He's the straight man. He's the straight. He's so honest.
Yeah.
He's so likable. He's the straight man.
Yeah.
Right? You need a guy to be the straight man in a
Yeah.
con. Kyle's the straight man.
I can see that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess.
He's the one where they go, well, this guy's involved,
Yeah.
so it's got to be real.
Yeah.
There's got to be, okay, there's not something going on. This guy's involved.
Which is like hilarious, because the second ever like D&D character that I played since we've been playing together was like the best liar in history. It's like, yeah, Chris was just,
Yeah.
you didn't know what was going on, but
Yeah. That's interesting.
We like playing characters that are different
yeah,
than ourselves. That's part of the fantasy, right? That's what
Yeah.
we get
Absolutely.
to do, to step into that
Yeah.
world. It's one of the reasons I really enjoy it. I'm playing a gnome.
yeah,
Would probably fit in my shoe.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my character, she had, was it 6 arms?
yeah. Your character had 6 arms, and
She was like packing like a knife and a cigar.
and I think she was
Nice.
like, wasn't
some
she supposed to be
fish.
like a stay-at-home mom or something like that? Like
She had a
had like
bunch of kids.
food and like a kid in one arm, and it was just like this perfect imagery
And
of.
What's those things called that you put liquor in?
Oh yeah, she had a shot glass or something like that.
No.
Flask.
Flask.
A flask.
There you go.
No. And her name was Perla, I think.
Perla.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Perla.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So sorry, I skipped ahead and then I lost myself.
Mhm.
It's the last question.
Okay.
Well, not the very last, but the last question in the box.
Yeah. So what are 3 specific action steps a business leader can take to empower their team and create a culture of empowerment within their organization?
So you already know this, being on the team, right? I'm deeply invested in the Start With Why by Simon Sinek. So define your why.
Yeah.
And define it together as a team. So you all know why you're there.
Right.
That's big. We actually need to do that for this new project. I was realizing that like 2 days ago. I'm like, we need to do a Start With Why session about this new partner security project, because we all had our why on cyber protection, and now we need a new one. The second one is find ways to inspire myself. Like, why do I care about this? Like, seek out what problem we're solving, what people we're going to make happy, what lives we're going to, like, what are the things that are going to inspire me, and then bring that back to the team. You know, and if I can bring that, like, this is why I'm excited about this, then usually everyone else gets excited about it too. So define your why, bring the, bring the inspiration back to your team. And then, I don't want to like toot my horn or anything, but be authentic, be real.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we talked about it earlier about the real and negativity.
Yeah.
You got to be real when it's bad times, but also be real when it's good times.
Yeah.
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 I like that.
No, that is, I think that's probably a big part of the reason why I am where I am today in my career. And I think, like, you touched on the fact that, like, this is what I want to do, where I want to be. But because of like working with you and, getting to kind of like challenge myself in the role that I'm in, I have, found that I do have like a passion and a skill set that, frankly, allows me to afford a nice lifestyle for my family. And it's kind of nice. And
even if it's 2-3 levels down on your list of stuff that you'd like to do in the world, there is a satisfaction to being able to do something well enough to be paid for it and live a lifestyle.
Totally.
Like that, you might be like, man, I wish I was doing X, Y, or Z. But then it's like, I like having a nice car and I love my house. And, I like being able to go to Bermuda. And like there is a satisfaction in that. Mike Rowe has a lot to say about that. The Dirty Jobs guy. Little right for my, typical taste, but he's got a real practical approach to work. He's like, you'll have job satisfaction when you show up early and you stay late and you get good.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're to our crescendo, or what is this? This is our favorite question of the show.
Okay.
So imagine that you've just won an Emmy, a Grammy, major award. You've been called up to the stage. You step up to the mic. Give us your thank you speech.
I didn't have one. I was like, this is an awful question. I don't know what to do with this question. But then I was like, wait, I've seen this question answered correctly.
Yeah.
I've seen this moment right.
Yeah.
And when I think it's right, it is when they're like, hey, can I have all my team come up here?
Yeah.
And they do that, right? You see them like all of a sudden the director and the sound guy and the 2 top actors and the stage is crowded with like 20 people. That's the right way to do that thing, I think.
Yeah. I love that answer.
I like that.
Yeah. Because it's one thing to, to read the list
That
of
or
names.
thank you, Mom.
Yeah. Thank you, Mom.
Go either way.
And Miss Laura.
Yeah.
Nope, just forget everyone and go straight to the mom.
Straight to Mom.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. Mom and Jesus, and you're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we really appreciate you taking the time. And
Fist bump, you'll be way over there.
yeah. Sorry. It's in the air.
we'll edit it in.
Yeah.
Have his arm extended.
Yeah.
Just go Gumby across the
Oh man. Yeah, this is like a lot of fun. So we appreciate you. Appreciate the fact that you are
I'm
flexible.
glad I came here.
Yeah.
When I saw it pop up on the calendar, I'm like, oh, are we still doing that thing? Because you're at work. And it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Audience, thanks. Glad you guys can hang out with us. And
I've been staring over here the whole time.
that's fine.
okay.
Yeah. Hope you guys got a lot of valuable information and
I can fix
wisdom.
that, right?
Yeah, totally. And we'll see them next week, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
For that episode title, whatever it's called.
With some bloke.
Yep.